All right, settle in. Let's talk about something real, something that whispers in the quiet moments after decades together. Imagine this. You've shared a life, built a home, raised a family, weathered storms, and celebrated triumphs over 40 years. Yet, sometimes, lying beside the woman you love, a question lingers. Where do I touch her? How do I touch her? Now, in this chapter of our lives. If that feels familiar, take a deep breath. You are far, far from alone. Look around. Men in their 60s, 70s, even vibrant 80s, often share this quiet uncertainty. It's not a lack of love. It's not a lack of trying. It's simply that no one ever handed us the map to a woman's changing body, especially as the years weave their stories into both of your skins. My name is David Lee. I've spent over 30 years as a urologist and professor, walking alongside thousands of couples navigating the beautiful, sometimes complex, terrain of intimacy and aging. I've seen the relief in a man's eyes when he realizes he's not failing. He's just learning. I've witnessed the rekindling in relationships many thought were destined for quiet embers, simply because they discovered what I'm about to share with you today. Now, here's something that might surprise you, backed by recent, robust studies focusing specifically on women over 50. The places you might instinctively go for, the ones often talked about, like the clitoris, may not hold the top spot on her list anymore. And perhaps more crucially, there are areas she might genuinely wish you'd avoid. Not because she doesn't love your touch, but because those spots can feel overly sensitive, even painful, or simply don't spark the pleasure they once did as her body has evolved. So, if honest connection matters to you, especially if you want to rebuild trust, deepen that bond, and maybe even rediscover a spark you thought was gone, hit that subscribe button and tap the bell icon. Why? Because this journey into understanding is ongoing. I share research-backed insights like this regularly, focusing on intimacy, aging, and the profound connections possible later in life. Subscribing means you won't miss future conversations that could make all the difference. And please, let me know if this resonates. Type 1 in the comments if you found this helpful, 0 if not. Your feedback truly guides what I create next. Okay, let's dive into the heart of what you came for. What does the latest research, involving hundreds of women navigating midlife and beyond, actually tell us? It reveals a clear picture of where touch is not just physically welcomed, but deeply craved on an emotional level, touch that feels safe, connecting, and profoundly respectful of the body she lives in now. Here are the top 3 places women, especially as they age, often prefer to be touched, and why understanding this goes far beyond mere technique. The entrance to the vagina. In introitus, this might be unexpected. For countless women, particularly as they age, this threshold holds immense emotional and physical significance. It's not about deep thrusting or intensity. It's about presence, patience, and the profound intimacy of gentle contact right at the gateway. Think of it as the first hello, a place steeped in vulnerability and trust. Why it matters more now. Over decades, a woman's body transforms. Childbirth, menopause, surgeries, these experiences leave their mark. This area carries powerful emotional and physical memories. Research suggests that as estrogen levels decline, the tissues here can become thinner and more sensitive. A rushed or forceful touch can feel jarring, even invasive, but approached with warmth, slowness, and undivided attention can evoke a deep sense of being cherished. Imagine soft circling motions, the gentle pressure of a warm palm or flat fingers, coupled with eye contact or a whispered affirmation. This isn't a technique. It's an intention. It's the language of, I am here, entirely with you, with no agenda but connection. This shift from urgency to presence can be transformative. Studies on intimacy in long-term relationships consistently highlight that feeling emotionally safe and prioritized is paramount for women's arousal and satisfaction, especially later in life. Touch here, done with reverence, becomes an invitation, not an expectation. That changes everything. The area surrounding the urethral opening. This next zone is perhaps the most overlooked gem. Nestled just below the clitoris and above the vaginal entrance, this small, delicate area holds a concentration of nerves often underestimated. It's rarely discussed, even in medical contexts, yet many women describe it as a source of subtle, deeply resonant sensation. Why it matters more now? Forget pressure or friction here. This area thrives on a feather-light, almost exploratory touch, the very tips of your fingers, or simply the warmth of your hand resting nearby. The skin is thin, nerves are close to the surface. As one patient in her late 60s confided with a knowing smile, "It's not a place I'd have thought to mention, but when my husband touches me there softly, patiently, it's like a gentle current. Not fireworks, but a warm hum that stays with me." That sentiment echoes in my practice. Research into female sexual anatomy confirms the dense nerve endings in this periurethral area. For older women, where natural lubrication might be reduced or sensitivity heightened due to hormonal shifts, this kind of slow, attentive touch bypasses potential discomfort. It communicates, "I see all of you, not just the obvious parts." This attentiveness to the often ignored can make a woman feel profoundly cherished and uniquely known. The inner vaginal wall, upper front, G-spot area. This final area isn't always easy to locate, and its nature is individual. But when found with care and respect, it offers a connection that blends physical sensation with deep emotional resonance. Located just a couple of inches inside, on the front wall, towards the belly, this area, often associated with the G-spot, is less about a magic button and more about a deeper, fuller sensation. Why it matters more now? For many women in long-term partnerships, especially as they age, touch here is intrinsically linked to trust. It requires attentiveness and a willingness to listen to her body's responses. It responds best not to thrusting, but to gentle, rhythmic pressure, a slow, steady, come-here motion with a finger or two. It's about creating a feeling of being deeply understood. I recall a couple in their 70s who felt their spark was extinguished. The wife shared, "I never liked deep or fast. What I longed for was that slow, steady pressure inside. It wasn't fireworks. It was a warm wave starting small and filling the whole room." Studies on sexual satisfaction in older adults emphasize that physical limitations or changes don't diminish the desire for intimacy. They often shift the focus towards emotional closeness and sensual exploration. Touch here, done patiently, says, "I know your body has changed, and I'm still learning it, loving it, with you." How do you know you've found a responsive spot? Watch her breathing deepen, feel her body soften and lean into you. Notice the quiet sigh rather than a loud moan. It's in the surrender, not the performance. But understanding intimacy isn't just about where to go. It's equally vital to understand where not to go. Knowing these boundaries isn't a rejection. It's the foundation of profound trust and safety. Research clearly shows that certain areas, often touched automatically or based on outdated assumptions, can trigger discomfort, pain, or emotional withdrawal for many women over 50. Avoiding these, unless explicitly invited, demonstrates respect that deepens connection immeasurably. The anus. This is arguably the most misunderstood zone in modern discussions about intimacy. While popular culture might portray it as universally desirable, the reality for a significant number of women, particularly those over 50, is starkly different. Recent studies surveying women in this age group consistently place the anus at the top of the list of areas they prefer partners avoid without explicit, enthusiastic consent. Why it matters more now? The reasons are multifaceted and deeply personal. For some, it's physical discomfort or fear of pain. For others, it's tied to emotional vulnerability, past trauma, or simply a lack of personal interest. Postmenopausal changes can increase sensitivity or discomfort in the entire pelvic region. One woman in her late 60s expressed a common plea. "I love my husband, but I wish he'd ask or notice when I tense up instead of assuming. An unexpected touch there makes me shut down." The key is respect and communication. True intimacy flourishes in the safety of known boundaries. Assuming or pressuring erodes trust. Asking gently, without expectation, and honoring a no without question or disappointment, builds a fortress of safety around her. And paradoxically, that safety is often what allows other forms of intimacy to blossom more freely. The cervix. This one often surprises men. The cervix, located at the very end of the vaginal canal, is frequently romanticized as a zone of deep, intense pleasure. However, for a vast number of women, especially as they age, direct stimulation of the cervix ranges from uncomfortable to acutely painful. Why it matters more now: the cervix is sensitive tissue, not primarily an erogenous zone. It acts more like a protective gateway. Hormonal changes after menopause can make it even more tender. Women who have experienced childbirth, surgeries like hysterectomies, or certain medical procedures may have heightened sensitivity or discomfort. The notion that deeper is better is often a myth for mature women. Research on dyspareunia, painful intercourse, in postmenopausal women frequently cites cervical impact as a significant cause. As one patient in her early 70s confided, "When he tries to go as deep as possible, I brace myself. It doesn't feel good, but I didn't know how to tell him without hurting him." The solution lies in shallower penetration, slower movements, and attentive communication. Checking in with a simple, "Is this okay?" or "How does this feel?" is crucial. Her comfort is paramount. Respecting the depth and pressure she prefers isn't a limitation. It's an act of love that prioritizes her well-being and pleasure. The nipples. This might be the most unexpected entry on this list. Conventional wisdom has long held nipples as highly erotic zones. And for many women, they absolutely can be. However, the reality for a significant portion of women over 50 or 60 is more complex. And often, touch here is not consistently welcome. Why it matters more now: hormonal fluctuations, especially the drop in estrogen after menopause, dramatically alter breast tissue. What once felt intensely pleasurable can become overly sensitive, even painful, or simply feel numb. Sensitivity can vary wildly day to day based on hormones, medications, or even her emotional state. The automatic go-to can now feel jarring or invasive. A woman in her late 60s shared this poignant insight. "I love that he still desires me, but sometimes when he goes straight for my chest, I wish he'd slow down and ask first. It would make me feel like a person, not just a body part." The takeaway is context and consent matter immensely here. Don't assume. Observe her response. Start with lighter, more general caresses on the chest or sides before moving near the nipple. Better yet, ask, "Can I touch you here?" or "How does this feel tonight?" This attentiveness signals that you are present with her, right now, respecting her body's current needs, not operating on an old script. This kind of consideration fosters deep emotional safety. A word for the man who still cares. If you've stayed with me this far, it speaks volumes. It tells me you're not just seeking physical knowledge. You're seeking true connection. You want to bridge any distance to make her feel loved, safe, and desired in the deepest way. Let me be clear. That desire to connect, to learn, to love more thoughtfully as the years pass, that is powerful. That is noble. Don't underestimate it. So many men in their later decades come to me feeling a sense of loss or resignation, wondering if the vibrant intimacy of earlier years is simply gone forever. Maybe your own body feels different. Maybe attempts at closeness have felt awkward or distant lately. Maybe you fear you've forgotten how, or that what worked before no longer does. Here's the truth I've witnessed time and again. It is never too late to reconnect. This stage of intimacy isn't about recapturing the past. It's about forging something new and potentially even more profound. It's built on the bedrock of decades of shared history. It prioritizes presence over performance, safety over speed, and emotional understanding over athleticism. Studies on successful aging and relationships consistently show that emotional intimacy and feeling securely attached become even more critical for relationship satisfaction in later life. When you lead with this kind of attentive care, when you truly listen, when you respect her boundaries, when you touch with the intention of connection rather than outcome, something shifts. Walls soften, guard drops, trust deepens. And from that fertile ground of safety and respect, genuine intimacy, warmth, and even excitement can blossom anew. As we close, remember this. Intimacy doesn't vanish with age, it evolves. The landscape changes, The paths to connection might look different than they did 40 years ago, but this evolution is not a loss. It's an invitation to slow down, to listen with your whole being, heir to her words, her breath, the subtle language of her body. To relearn her, not as the young woman you married, but as the remarkable woman she is now, with all the experiences, changes, and depth that come with a life richly lived. What matters most now isn't what you knew then, or how perfectly you remember the map. What matters is your willingness to be present, curious, and deeply respectful in this moment, with the partner you've chosen to walk beside through all the seasons of life. When you offer that, you offer something priceless. You offer the safety for her to truly open, and in that opening, you both might discover a connection deeper and more fulfilling than you ever imagined possible. If this journey towards deeper, more meaningful connection resonates with you, please consider subscribing. I'm David Lee, and I'm committed to sharing honest, research-backed conversations about intimacy, aging, and keeping the bonds of love strong through all of life's chapters. Tap that bell so you don't miss our next exploration. And as always, let me know your thoughts. Why, if this helped, and if it missed the mark. Your voice guides this important conversation. Thank you for being here.